Hello there, and welcome to a brief overview of the absolutely massive Immortal Empires update coming to Warhammer Total War on August 23rd. With this release imminent by the time this video has gone live, you'll have no doubt seen a bunch of preview footage and the rather impressive map size that's on offer. Keep in mind though that this is a beta version of the Immortal Empires game type, meaning that some factions won't necessarily be as capable as others, or some might even steamroll across the world with ease. Creative Assembly will probably be going back and forth with updates and tweaks over time, but as of launch the mode will essentially be feature complete. So what this means is that it'll feature, as here's a brief list, 86 legendary lords, which means you have 86 different start points on the map across all races currently in Warhammer Total War 1, 2 and 3. Be'lakor is now his own legendary lord with his own faction and mechanics. Legacy lords like Volkmar, Grombrundel, Helmengorst and more now have unique start positions with revamped mechanics of their own to make them more interesting to play. A sea lanes function has been added that will allow you to fast travel your fleets across the map. New endgame scenarios have been added for more challenge for players in the late game, such as gigantic wars of orcs, wood elf warpath invasions, the Black Pyramids of Nehekara Rising, and more. Corruption mechanics have been reworked again to make them easier to spread corruption for those factions that use it, and also easier for other factions to reduce or even cleanse it. And of course, the 8-player multiplayer campaign will also be available. Bonus upside is that only the host needs to own all 3 games to run a campaign, but restrictions will apply to other players who join who may not own certain DLCs for access to certain lords, for example. I mean, it's a lot to take in when you look at the sheer scale of the map, just in the faction selection screen alone. The UI has been overhauled as well here to be less cluttered and quicker to build armies in things like custom battles, which I know is going to be very helpful for those of you who enjoy ad hoc tournaments in multiplayer, or just playing matchmake games against random people, or just matches with your friends. Numerous other factions have had quality of life updates as well, so their mechanics will now work better within the scope of Immortal Empires. Also with regards to things like loyalty mechanics with the Skaven and Dark Elves, alongside construction options and how certain climates will now work for factions when they conquer other areas of the map. The main draw though is the massive map itself, with which to conquer with your chosen faction, and if you have all of the games from the previous releases and their DLCs, you're pretty much spoilt for choice. Many Chaos fans will be happy though that there's a rework to the Warriors of Chaos from all the way back when the first game came out, which will coincide with the release of the new Champions of Chaos DLC that adds even more start positions and famous lords to play, each with their own mechanics and objectives. The Warriors of Chaos rework itself is a major overhaul, and I'm going to do that in a separate video, as it would be much too large a mechanical change to just go over here and I'll miss a lot of the important details. We're looking a little deeper at some of the existing faction changes. Volkmar the Grim is now placed in the southern part of the map amongst the followers of Nagash, with the goal of sealing the fell books of the undead necromancers forever. He wants to prevent their energies from being used by the other users of necromantic energies, such as the Tomb Kings or Vampire Counts. The more books that he manages to capture and seal away, the more powerful the boons he will receive. Conversely though, Manfred von Karstein has been moved from his area in the map all the way to the south, as he's actively working to obtain these books from the followers of Nagash to increase his own powers of undeath and deny them to the Tomb Kings as well. Sticking with Vampire Counts, Helmengorst can now build up massive buffs for zombie armies via a revamped skill tree that puts all the focus on his corpse cart abilities, while Heinrich Kemmler now has Krell around permanently rather than as a summon in battle, and can further improve his power with some new skills on his own skill tree. Vlad and Isabella Karstein now start as proper married couple, so if you say pick Isabella, Vlad will be a automatically assigned hero for her force, so they can always be together on the battlefield and benefit from those buffs that they gain. And all of that is on top of the changes for the Vampire Counts as a faction overall that now allows them to become more powerful as their corruption increases. The higher the corruption goes, the better the units you can recruit from the Raised Dead pool. Morghuls can now be recruited even if you own the Vampire Coast DLC. Ethereal units have been revamped, buildings have been reworked so there's units available sooner, and magic has been buffed for the Vampire Counts so they have a higher mana pool and increased healing cap. Lizardmen have been given a big overhaul as well. Tehenhauen now recruits regiments of renown when they level up. Oxyotl now has more varied missions to hunt down all of the new Chaos Warriors and leaders that have been added to the game, but the higher the difficulty of your campaign, the less time he has to complete those missions. Kropgar can now recruit a coterie of powerful Saurus heroes and warriors, while Gorok now gains immunity to poison entirely and will grant his forces barriers. The Slan Lords and their respective spellcasters will gain more magic buffs, especially Master Mundi, who gets a 50% range buff on all of his spells cast, which is frankly insane given how powerful he already is. And finally, Nakai the Wanderer has been moved to a new start location, gaining more benefits from any established temples that he constructs for vassalization and boosting his economy mechanics. The Dark Elves have gotten some love with some new features like Marathi and her link to Slaanesh now. She can recruit demonettes. Raycarth can tame a few new beasts like feral bears and saber-tusks. But one of the bigger changes though overall is the Norscan end of things. Though it isn't a complete rework, and Creative Assembly have been very careful to say that this isn't a rework, it's been given some more rewards for maxing out certain faith to a particular spirit animal. So they'll be able to recruit an exotic Great Unclean One, an exotic Hero of Khorne. Reward characters will gain more abilities and buffs as they continue to worship their chosen deity. Even the Hell Cannon battery of the Ice Force Legion has now become a regiment of renown instead. Norsca now has access to new commandments for controlling a province. Settlements can build new trade resource buildings to expand their economy. There are even new capital targets have been added for the Viking analogues to raid and raise, such as those distant cities in Grand Cathay, for instance. And remember, a lot of these tweaks and reworks are subject to change as the mode is developed after release, but yeah, there's a lot to see and mess around with in Immortal Empires. The simple joy of just conquering such a vast map, making alliances, wiping out entire races, dominating the world, honestly, it's never been more enjoyable in Warhammer Total War. And I'm sure there are probably a lot of things I missed, but no doubt you will discover these little changes and updates here and there as you play your favourite faction and lord. But have fun out there on the 23rd, which is pretty soon. And thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good week. And let me know what you think about Immortal Empires. But until then, bye-bye.